First ever game between Washington and Oregon. UW versus Oregon is one of the oldest and most heated rivalries in college football. The first one kicking off in 1900 at Hayward Field. There were many moments in this rivalry. This is Countdown to Kickoff, where we show you games, players, or teams in program history on the road to opening kickoff. Next on the list, number 43, the first ever game between Washington and Oregon. UW versus Oregon is one of the oldest and most heated rivalries in college football. The first one kicking off in 1900 at Hayward Field. There were many moments in this rivalry's history that turned up the temperature, including the 1949 Rose Bowl, where Washington cast the last and deciding vote for Cal to attend the bowl game over Oregon. Washington currently leads the rivalry with a 63-48-5 record, with multiple six-game win streaks during Washington's days as a consistent powerhouse. However, Oregon responded and went on a 12-game win streak versus the Huskies from 2004 to 2015. And of course, we can't forget the single play that turned Oregon's football program around, and it was against Washington.
Fewer, you're going to go back to throw the ball. Sets up, looks, throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball! Down to the 35, the 40. Kenny Wheaton's going to score! Kenny Wheaton is going to score! 20, the 10, touchdown! Kenny Wheaton on the interception! The most improbable finish to a football game!
The final score to the game that started it all, 43-0, Oregon. Well, ladies and gentlemen, children of all wages, welcome back to the show. After a long hiatus, I am back and a little heated. So those of sensitive ears and religions, maybe you want to wait a little bit. And if you're watching this on the rerun, please skip forward. As you can see, I'm doing a wonderful countdown to kickoff. We are 43 days away from official kickoff for Oregon football. I think it is August 30th, I believe, at this point, if the math checks out. And I'm releasing a new video every day, just like the intro said, where I'm just putting big teams, big games, big scores, big players that correlate with the days until kickoff, when kickoff resumes. Sorry, the lights. I'm sweating like a southern preacher. Don't know why. I noticed in the old shows I was very shiny and red due to the heat, and I would put the AC on like, I don't know, hour or two before showtime, and within 5 minutes I was in a sauna. So hopefully in my new digs I can avoid that as much as possible. But anywho, I'm doing these special videos to count down until kickoff, obviously. And yeah, so they're released once a day until actual kickoff day. Well, on day 45, I am featuring the 2012 Rose Bowl game in which Oregon won 45-38, right? So I make this video and I make the short version and I upload it. Seemingly no problems with the ones from 50 to 45. And then I get a notification from YouTube Studios, a copyright notification. And the copyright is blocked, completely invisible. No one can see it. It's not like it's blocked in Germany and Latvia and Lithuania, where it's like, who cares if they can't see it? It's blocked everywhere. So I look up the copyright strike and who could have done it. Now, I was thinking it could have been maybe like an ESPN or an Oregon Sports Network or whoever, right? And by the way, I pulled this video from like the Oregon archives. It's not like I necessarily just went onto ESPN's website and ripped it off of that. Though, within fair use law, I am fully within my rights to do so, by the way. But I did not. It was the original ESPN broadcast that was in that library or whatever. But anywho, the people that copywrote me was this pack of fuckheads known as XOS Sports, I guess, or X's and O's Sports, whatever you want to call them. And so I looked them up on YouTube, and they haven't even done anything since 2013. And I also looked up their Twitter, and they also haven't done anything on Twitter since 2013. And it appears Catapult, the athletic company Catapult, had bought them out around that time. Now, they claim that they purchased, obviously, the license to all these games as the Rose Bowl itself and the NCAA and conferences and all this type of shit they purchased the license to that. And so they basically just go copyright. So you'll notice on the 45 video, it's blurred out and it says, "Suck my balls, XO Sports," because they probably should if they don't kiss my Irish ass. Anyway, they copyright me and fully block it. Now, I wouldn't be angry one bit if they were like, "Oh, you can't monetize it." I'm not doing this video series, though it's taking a lot of time, for copyright purposes. I'm not doing it to make money. I'm just doing it for fun. It's for the love of the game. Or if they were partially blocking it due to copyright or whatever, again, demonetizing it or not allowing it to be monetized or not showing it in Bahrain or whatever. I can't remember if that's Iran. I think it's Iran. That wouldn't really make me that angry. But the fact that they fully blocked it, and then I appeal it by saying, "Hey, this is called fair fucking use." Okay? First of all, I didn't even take the footage from you guys personally. So what copyright do you even have on that? Because it's not your footage. First of all, at first, it was ESPN's footage. They have the copyright over that. And if you purchase the license from that, it doesn't matter one bit, because I didn't use the footage that was purchased, quote unquote, by you. I took it from another archival site or another library. And second of all, that doesn't even matter. Doesn't even fucking matter, because here's why. All you guys do on XOS Sports YouTube, you just post the original broadcast raw clips anyway. So you just purchase the rights to do what everyone else does and post the ESPN broadcast right off the bat. I feel like Disney and ESPN should be coming after your ass for using that footage like that. I don't care if you really paid for it. Because here's the thing. When I made that video, does that video look in any way? First of all, they didn't even post the 2012 Rose Bowl game on the YouTube, on their website, nowhere to be found. So it's not like I'm taking money from them in that way either. And second of all, most importantly, the only sort of excuse for any of this is it's fair use. It is under fair use. And just because you purchase that footage does not mean you are allowed to take away someone's right to fair use. And this is the problem too. Like, I don't even necessarily blame YouTube on this, because it's just like, don't kill the messenger. They're the messenger. But also, it's these people that make deals with these companies that gatekeep this shit. How is anyone supposed to do anything of value if they can't even use fair use? Like, you're strangleholding like YouTube or just even not even YouTube, whatever the distribution platform is people who are low production or low resource, I'll say, not low production, but low resource content creators, just people who make stuff. They can't do anything unless it's like completely original, written out, blah, blah, blah. The way around that is fair use, documentary style, education style, completely transforming the footage that you're using, which I did, by the way. They didn't do that. They didn't do this video. I was telling a story. I wrote the story. I have a Word document open of a script. I voice recorded that. I made the little graphic typography. I edited the video. I found royalty-free music. Ballas Vargas, by the way, is the person that he's the royalty-free music creator that does my countdown music, and I used him for the music for that too. So I pulled the music, I pieced it all together. I just grabbed the puzzle pieces, of which falls under fair use. So I appeal, or I dispute. I'm like, yo, this is fair use. Like, fuck off. Nope. Complete auto turn down. So then I take it to appeal, and basically it's like you have to delete it or get a copyright strike. Again, what right do they have, especially when it comes to fair use, do they have to be that strict about it? They have the monopoly on it. They're not losing money. Fuck, they're not even making money doing any of this because they're not even using it. They're just sitting on it. This reminds me of the days of like 2012 to 14, we'll say, that year era. When Adam Carolla, Mark Maron, all the big podcasters of that era were talking about patent trolls. And what they did was they purchased basically the patent for podcasting. Just super vague, the whole thing. The entire sort of infrastructure of podcasting. It wasn't a certain podcast. It wasn't a certain podcast network. It wasn't the microphones that they used. It was just podcasting. So if you recorded your voice and you put it on the internet, that was breaking their patent or copyright infringement. So they got sued or whatever for it. And then they had to go and do this huge advertising campaign. You hear the ads from Adam Carolla on Mark Maron's podcast, The Nerdist, back when it was The Nerdist. Every single podcast had Adam Carolla's little spiel about patent trolls. And the idea, obviously, was that they advertised to donate money towards fighting legally the patent trolls. It wasn't even a podcast company either. It was just some nebulous company that purchased the patent for podcasting specifically so they can sue those people in hopes that, one, they might drain those people's resources and win cases, or they would pay up and settle because the idea of a lawsuit was scary to them. Or they would get paid off and make money that way. So this is what XOS or X's and O's Digital reminds me of. They're the sports and sports clip patent trolls. They don't even look like a real company. I don't know what Catapult even bought. Catapult seems like a relatively legit, company. I don't even know what they bought with X's and O's Sports. They bought nothing. They bought a dead YouTube channel. They bought a dead website and a dead Twitter page and a dead whatever it can be sort of platform, whatever the hell they are or they claim to be, Don't know what it is. They were stock photos on the website. Didn't look like there was any distinct personalities that had purchased this film, this huge library of film, so they can break it down or do whatever, even though that was the claim that they were doing there. Either way, no matter what, it's fair use. And I'm tired of these gatekeeping assholes getting in the way of fair use. Because this is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer in terms of content creation. This isn't the first time people have used things like documentary or highlight reels, whatever, using whatever to get their foot in the door to make a career out of it, which I'm not even doing. I have a career out of this. I'm just doing that for fun because I love the Ducks. And it should, whether it grows my channel or not. But they have a say now in what what about people who have no means to do anything like that? Where they can't even use anything. They don't have a camera, nothing. They're doing it out of desperation, not for fun, or doing it as a way to get their foot in the door that way. You've boxed them out. Because you can't deal with you can deal with it, but the thing is that you're dealing with it in a way that you're making money off of it. You're doing things that are illegal. You cannot break fair use law, just like I cannot break copyright law, which I did not. You can't break fair use law, especially if you make money out of it. Sorry, that's just not fair. So, with that being said, suck my balls, Exo Sports. Tired of you fucks, every single one of you. Everyone just like you. The music industry, they're dying, so they have to pull their bullshit too, and they make deals with the distribution platforms, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, whoever. Can't do shit. And even when you make a music video of your favorite band, the band finds it and they like it and they share it. What's the fucking difference? That's the shit, man. It's because they can't. They want to be able to pick and choose who's who. And they've just found a way to do it on the internet. Anyway, this is about the Ducks. So, ladies and gentlemen, children of all wages, welcome to the show. And apologize for... No, I don't. I don't apologize for that. Y'all should know anyway what's going on with that. And speaking of apologies, I would like one. Not from X&O Sports. Because if they apologize, I would just give them this and tell them to go away. Stone Cold Steve Austin style. But I would like an apology from all the idiots on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and especially Reddit. And I understand that people on Reddit are barely respectable enough where an apology really means anything anyway. But I say this because this is sort of people on the internet are fucking stupid. Me included. The people on the internet are dumb. And the biggest, I'll switch gears. I'll switch vibes. I'm trying to go positive. But I need to get out the negative first. And once I do that, we're back to positivity. And the problem is all the negativity is coming from dum-dums on Reddit who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Especially when it comes to sports. They've probably never thrown a ball in their lives. And they think their opinion actually means something on Reddit. Or in the grand scheme of things. And I'm talking about the fact that I was downvoted to shit. I was ratioed and everything when I was defending Dan Lanning and the slow recruiting that was going on in the months of May and June, kind of the spring era. There were some questions, and valid enough that were in the people who are asking what's going on. Like, hey, like, this is odd. We've been on a very hot streak recruiting wise. Suddenly, we're losing recruits to everyone, including Atkinson and Gerald's or whatever this week. But before that, it seemed like we were losing everybody to everything. Wesley decommitted and went off to Texas, but seemed like a bullet dodged, if we're going to be honest here. But I'm pulling up my stats here so I make sure the stream's in good condition. But so the questions are like, hey, what's going on is valid. But the people who are like, we're done, we're cooked, all this other stuff, like blah 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 blah, all that nonsense about all just the black pill sort of doomer type of stuff where it's over. Other fans of other teams can say that that's fine. That's that's within their right and justification to do so. That's just trash talk from rival fans. I'm not even talking about rivals in the sense of UW and OSU or Oregon State, who's barely a pimple on Oregon's ass at this point. They can go to hell for all I care. But just rivals as in other teams, opposition, but are actual heated rivals too. But here's the thing. There's a reason why they're called recruiting cycles. Cycle being the key word. And it's the same as like the stock market. There's going to be spots where you're going to be super hot. You buy the stock and it takes off and boom, you make a ton of money. The same goes for recruiting. It happens in cycles. So one cycle around the sun, the earth is hotter and whatever. Tilt, I know. But like the term cycle, that's what the term cycle means. That's why they're called recruiting cycles, not recruiting straight lines. Now, let's rewind back a little bit to Cristobal's last year as he leaves the University of Oregon for Miami. If I remember correctly, he barely stays past the Civil War, and I think he leaves before the Alamo Bowl. If I remember correctly, the Alamo Bowl that TCU came back down 31 points was the game that was coached by the interim coach after Cristobal had left. Let me actually do a quick fact check about that, actually. What was that? The 2016 Alamo Bowl? 2016 Alamo Bowl. Let's see. Yes, Oregon TCU. Let's look here. So, let's see. The 2015 for the Ducks was... Oh, no. Then what was it? Because he had left... Who was the coach? 2000... that was Taggart. That's right. See, this is why I needed to... Oh, wait, no, it was Helfrich. It was Helfrich's last year. That's right. That was the horrific final nail in Helfrich's coffin. But let's look at Mario Cristobal though. See, this is why it was a good thing to fact check, I guess. My memory, the years have been mashed together. My memory doesn't serve me well always. So I think it was 21 that Cristobal left. Yep. So Oregon 21. Now at Oregon, but I just want to make sure he left. Yeah. So in 21, Cristobal took a 10-12 or before surprise depart. Yes. Okay. So it was the 2021 Alamo Bowl versus Oklahoma. See, okay, that's what confused me there, I guess, was the Alamo Bowl. The Ducks have been to the Alamo Bowl so many times. And it looks like we probably lost that game, huh? Because Cristobal left. So let's take a look here. The 2021 Alamo Bowl. Let's see. Yeah, so Oklahoma 47-32. And Brian McClendon, that's right. Brian McClendon was the interim head coach. Where is he now? As a coach. Oh, he's the wide receiver coach at Tampa Bay. Good for him. So, anywho. Yeah, so it was the 2021 Alamo Bowl versus Oklahoma. And Cristobal left before that. And then once the season was over, a bunch of people transferred out. And the Ducks, as a program, was basically back to square one, post-Helfrich, basically. They wanted Taggart at the time to rebuild, and he sort of did by leading Oregon finally to a winning season and not letting that one losing season really continue a slide that could have been detrimental to the program. And then when he left, sort of just, it's FSU. That was his home. Good for him. Taggart leaves. Cristobal comes. He was another kind of step up the ladder for the program, a step in the right direction. He leaves. And then Cristobal leaves. And so Lanning, though, when he shows up on campus, what he has is essentially a skeleton crew. He doesn't have very much. He has nothing but Cristobal roster of those who stayed. The rest transferred. So it was a skeleton crew of Cristobal's roster. No coaches really that were left behind. It was a complete and total, it kind of reminds me of like a corporate buyout where it's like, we're buying your company, we're clearing everybody out and starting over from scratch. And it wasn't Lanning necessarily who did that. He was just the guy that came in after the clean out happened. So in 2001, basically, he's having to use the transfer portal as much as he can to sort of keep the ship afloat, poking holes in the holes in the ship and filling gaps, because also Cristobal left in the winter time. So that entire recruiting cycle and the winter recruiting cycle happened before he left, basically. So obviously Cristobal wasn't really recruiting very much. And there probably was some decommits, if I really remember. I don't really remember, but I'm sure if I looked it up, there were probably some decommits as well as transfers out. So completely starting from scratch, Lanning has no time to really recruit. So he can only transfer in the spring of 2022. He can really only transfer as much as he can in that window of time where the transfer portal's open and recruiting season's open. And so he does. And this was how he got Bo Nix, if I remember correctly. And let's take a look here. Let me double check. I'm trying to get my timelines right. So Bo, what year did Bo Nix transfer to Oregon? I'm pretty sure it was 2022. Yep, 2022. And was it late in the year? Let's see. Because of COVID-19. Let's see. It's not going to give me a month. But if I remember correctly, let's see, December. Oh, he was one of the first ones. Okay, I thought he was one of the last ones. See, this is good that he's transferring to Oregon. Okay. But anyway, bottom line is that's when we got Bo Nix, was in that transfer portal. And so during that year, he basically had to recruit through the transfer portal to fill in those gaps that were left behind after Cristobal left. And he did. And Oregon had to have a sort of moderately successful year, but it wasn't anything expected like 2023 or 4 after Lanning got a year under his belt with Oregon because of that. So, you know, he recruits as much as he can in 2022, but a lot of the recruiting probably was like, we need people who can play now, right now, suit up and get on the field. And let's meet your teammates that are still here. And then the recruiting was going on for 2023 in 2022. Once, you know, 2022 was a year of Oregon getting their feet under them because of the massive change of Cristobal leaving. So there was obviously that reliance on that. And after 2023 goes by, those recruits are coming. Not as much though, because again, it's different. Lanning is Lanning, but he's not Lanning now even than he was back then. Like, Lanning has a little bit more cachet now than even back then. And he's going from he went from SEC country to the other side of the country in Eugene, Oregon. So there's some roadblocks there. He probably didn't recruit as much as you really could. Like, now we're seeing USC basically fill out an entire roster of recruits this past recruiting cycle. And it's just not possible necessarily with Lanning on that. So he had to build a little bit there. And the success of 2023 happens. He gets a better recruiting class in 2024. But even then, the recruiting class of him from 2022 in 2023, they're still freshmen in 2023. So, you know, he's either having to have guys develop on the field, or he's still having to fill those gaps in the transfer portal to let those younger guys develop. And then he builds on that in 2024. He gets a little bit better, you know, recruiting class. But the same thing, the recruiting class that comes in 2024 aren't going to be playing right away. They're the newbies, they're the freshmen. They're going to be playing under those guys. So you still had to supplement in the portal. And this year, it's a little bit different because of those 2 to 3 years that Lanning had to build his roster. It's now, this year is Dan Lanning's roster now. So anything that he does in terms of personnel and stuff, now it's on him. Now he has to figure it out if something's off. And he also gets the credit if something goes well. And so you can see that in the trends too, with how much that Oregon really supplemented in the transfer portal this year, because he didn't really. A lot of time, only thing he really did in the transfer portal this year was depth pieces and pieces that he still hasn't quite built up yet, because you can't build up the entire roster even in 3 years. It's just impossible. So he's getting depth. He's getting depth pieces. That was part of, he probably had a fully built roster, you know, even last year or the year before. Let's say he did amazingly well. And he had a complete roster built up in 2024 that was just waiting in the wings, which arguably maybe, at least mostly, could be arguable. You still need depth. And that's what he's been saying for the past few years, is depth, depth, depth. You need to, You need to not have a significant drop off in talent if your starter goes down. How many times has Oregon seen this as a fan over the years? Who was it? It wasn't Norm Van Brocklin, was it? No, the guy in the 80s. I can't remember. All-American. Dang it. You're going to get like my OCD on it. Brocklin. I don't think it was him. Let's see. Let's just look it up. It's not Norman Brocklin. The name is the tip of my tongue. Of Oregon quarterback 80s. Sorry, I'm breathing into the mic. Not Mike Jorge, not Jorge. Anthony Cherry. No, not Reggie Ogburn. No. Wrong. No. Oh my gosh, it's the guy after Jorge, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. It wasn't Chris Miller. Who is it? Dang it. It's the guy in the 80s. Who is it? Not a Keeling. Pawberry. No, not Graziani. I think Graziani was... No, not George Shaw. Chris Miller. It's not Norman Brocklin. Not Dan Fouts. Not Danny O'Neill. Bill Musgrave. Thank you. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise, Martha. I don't know why I said jeez Louise, but... Bill Musgrave. Broke his leg, I think. Injured, though. Fucked. Season screwed. Not Achilles Smith. Ruben Drones, though, gets injured 98. Fucked. Season over. See, Joey did all right, obviously, during his career. Kellen Clemens, though, I think broke his collarbone. Season done. And then we, of course, remember 2007. Dennis Dixon goes down with an ACL tear. Heisman campaign, national championship, done. Over. And those are just the big ones that come to top of mind about injuries that ruins Oregon seasons. If there was a decent enough backup from Dennis Dixon that wasn't such a drop off in talent, I think Nate Costa, obviously we all remember in the Sun Bowl when Justin Roper, the fifth string, was in the game because all those quarterbacks kept getting injured. But just imagine if someone like Nate Costa was as good as Dennis Dixon, just being the backup. The season might not have been over that year. And there's still, with how crazy the 2007 season was, there may have been a legitimate shot still for a national championship run. Who knows? But that's the thing. That's the depth that Dan Lanning is talking about. So, yay, you got a 1-star strong safety. But what if that 5-star strong safety goes down? And then you have the 2-star from Lynn Benton Community College playing. Well, you're going to have a drop-off. And if I was obviously the coach on the other team, I'd be saying, throw at that guy. Let's throw at him. I don't care if it doesn't work a few times. We're going to get one. So that's the issue, and that's still what we need to do even this year. Because our team is now, the Ducks is pretty young still. There's going to be some freshmen playing for sure with Decorian Moore and, of course, Naeem Offord. Probably going to see some good playing time. But even the guys that are going to start this year weren't starters before. lost a lot of seniors, and of course they've got playing time before, but it's different when you're being rotated in and playing, say, 30% of the snaps, but now you're expected to, even if in the reality is you're not going to be playing that many, but you could very well be expected to play 100 of the snaps. So it's different. It's going to be different. And you still need those depth pieces just in case, because you could have a guy fresh on campus that's not Dakorien Moore, but if he's good enough, he'll be right behind him or whatever. And if anybody goes down, it's still next man up. Doesn't matter. You could get injured so many times you're down to the walk-on. The walk-on's got to be on the field. So you better make sure that walk-on could be a 5-star, or, for counting stars. So it's a process. It's a cycle, if you will. And so when I look at the roster, though, Oregon is relatively deep. And I'll say this for example, when people got mad about Ryder Lyons, and we went after Bryson Beaver and got him, whatever. But we lose out on the 5-star like quarterback and so on and so forth. But the quarterback position in particular, I'll hone in on, because we have Dante Moore, who is a 5-star that originally committed to Oregon, flipped to UCLA, had a not fantastic year at UCLA, but how can you when the program itself is kind of that broken and you're relying on Chip Kelly to bring it back? He was kind of thrown out to the wolves, and he had the maturity and the smarts to say, you know what? Maybe I should have originally committed to Oregon after all. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to sit a year, and I'm going to basically take a deep breath, restart, figure it out. It never hurts to start fresh. And he started fresh sort of before it could get really bad, because we've all seen those guys who were 5-stars, supposed to be the next big thing, supposed to take over the world. They have, a bad year or whatever, and they have to stick with it before, the transfer portal really was a thing, or they're being stubborn and they want to stick with it, and it just buries them further to keep staying at that program all 4 years, whatever. And they don't even make the pros. Not even, and some of them don't even make the pros, let alone lose a huge amount of draft stock. So it was number one, I have a lot of respect for Dante Moore, and why I'm okay with okay, like it matters that I say it, but just for linguistic purposes, I think I'm okay with him being the guy for now, because that says a lot about his brain and his mind and his character. He's a smart guy, but he's mature, and you have no idea how much it is going against instinct to make that decision. And then after him is Austin Novosad, which arguably could be a starter as well and win games just as much as Dante Moore at this point. Then you have Luke Moga, who is a playmaker. I know everyone loves him. I'll talk about Luke Moga later, not right now. But I think he's good where he's at for now. And sorry, got an email that was interesting. And then you have incoming freshman behind Luke Moga, Akili Smith Jr., who is a legacy, obviously, from Akili Smith Sr. He's bigger than Akili. not necessarily in bulk. He's taller, but he's building. The last time I saw him in person play, he was a little thinner still, but that was his junior year at Lincoln. And after that, or during and after in the offseason, he was clearly bulking up and trying to. So that's going to happen in Eugene as well. He's faster than he looks. He's probably faster than his dad, and he's got a good arm. I've seen it in person. So say all you want about Akili. It might not work out or whatever in college, but he's legit. It's not just a player's son thing, okay? I've seen him in person. And I was a former wide receiver. I'm not a quarterback, so I can't say, oh, I broke down the game tape. He's legit. I just go by my gut. I would want him throwing to me. Arguably, he could start and compete now. But he also understands the process, and he probably wants to develop first. He has that mindset. He's been sort of pretty trained by his dad. His dad knows. His dad was sort of the one that got him bulking up, and is the one training him on his mechanics and everything else like that. So my point is, quarterback is deep. It's pretty good. So when everyone is crying, the sky is falling Chicken Little, about not getting a 5-star Mormon who is going to take a 2-year mission, I don't really think that's Dan Lanning getting stuffed in a locker. And the same goes for the other positions that are that deep, that we sort of lost out on. The only exception being linebacker. I don't know what's going on at linebacker, but we have a weird gap there where it's not really that deep. It's got a lot of questions on how good it can really be, if good at all, besides Bryce Betcher and Devin Jackson, arguably. Obviously, we've seen some good things in the spring game. But again, you just don't know. There's too many questions at linebacker, and we seem to lose every single recruit that we get at linebacker. But everyone else is deep. And again, I never really had the makings of a varsity athlete. But if I did, and I was being recruited as a 5-star, Jim Ross of the WWE fame, he likes to say most wrestlers leave the company they leave for another company or go independent wrestling because of two things: creative and cash. And what that means is, if they don't care about money and they leave, it's because they're not being booked the way that they feel like they should be booked. And if, let's say, they're Stone Cold Steve Austin and they're trying to pay Stone Cold Steve Austin $100 a day or a month to wrestle, he's probably going to leave for cash. And the same is sort of similar in college football when you're being recruited. It doesn't matter to these kids when they're 17. Necessarily the facts of the matter that they probably won't get playing time immediately. They're going to go to a place where they will get playing time immediately. And why wouldn't you? It's not just money. Money is the way for some people, yes. But even with the advent of the NIL and lack of salary cap at this point, those players are going where they can play. So if I'm a quarterback and I'm looking at Oregon and they're trying to recruit me, and I see Dante Moore for at least 2 years, Novosad, Moga, and Akili Smith Jr. in front of me, I'm thinking, I'm really not going to play. That jersey of mine is going to be a real clean for a long time. Where I can go over to UNLV or whatever, Utah State, Arizona State, wherever. I can go anywhere else in the country. Maybe sit a year, but start right after. Or I can go start right away. And I still get my NIL money. Where do you think they're going to go? They're probably going to go where they can get the playing time. That's going to be the deciding factor. And that's the problem that Oregon's running into right now, is their roster is pretty full. So a lot of these players are looking at it. I don't know what's going on with the linebackers, but every other position they're looking at it and they're like, I got Naeem Offord, Dorian Brew, Brandon Finney. I know I'm switching around on the secondary, but who cares? Flowers, Ife, all these guys in front of me. I don't know if I'm going to play right away. I'm just going to go somewhere where I can play first. So I think that is chasing off a lot of recruits. And frankly, the performance that we had in the Rose Bowl was probably not great for recruiting, if I'm going to be completely honest. Especially, I'm surprised we got as much secondary players as we did. I'm thinking Lanning said, hey, look at our secondary last year. It was not great. Guess what? You come here, we can actually be great. So please come here and let's be a part of the building crew and really kick this motherfucker off for us. I'm assuming that was the pitch, because you look at that and you see, oh, this program can't win the big one. They always choke, even though we're Rose Bowl champions twice in like 10 years, or 3 times maybe. Fiesta Bowl champions multiple times, blah, blah, blah. National championship runner-ups twice. There's still big games to be played to get to the national championship to lose. Competitive in the first, not so competitive in the second. We never belong there. That's another thing for another day. But the going thing is, oh, they don't win the big one. You know, they choke. Which, sure, you can hold that over our heads for the big one, the national championship, but say we can't win big games, that's just bullshit. Because the teams that actually lost to us in big games, that should be more embarrassing then. But anywho, that still hurts. That still hurts in recruiting for us. So that probably didn't really help either. But everyone was panicking, and I said not to panic. This is how it works. You're going to have a slow period, and then it's going to pick up. Well, guess what? It picked up. So all the dummies on the internet can go ahead and apologize to me. Thank you. And I'm not trying to ego trip, but I'm tired of stupid people, especially stupid people on the internet, because that's where they all hang out. I'm not some idiot that doesn't know what I'm talking about. In fact, you're the idiot that doesn't know what you're talking about, okay? Again, I wasn't a star D1 player. But the thing is, I played sports. I understand the politics of things behind the field and the court. There's more to it. There's more to building a roster. There's no need to panic. People make it happen. Lanning will make it happen. You just got to give it time, because that's how it works. It takes time. I'm not even talking about just winning national championships. It's building the team, but that's a huge part of why it takes time to win the championships. Okay? Nick Saban had been coaching for over 10 years before he won his first one with LSU. Kirby Smart, 6 years. Jim Harbaugh, like 9-10 years. Okay? The average time for coaches to win a national championship, the average time is 6 years. And even then, that's pretty fast, especially nowadays. The average time is 6 years. So if you do it before that, you're blisteringly fast. If you do it after, okay, you're close to average. Thank God we finally won it. This is Lanning's 2022, 23, 24, year 4. Okay, we're on the right trajectory. It'll happen. But this happens in cycles. So things will happen on the recruiting trail that will work out. And they have, as instanced by late June, July, where we had a good run. We got a 5-star plus offensive tackle from high school. And some. Another safety. More depth. You can't get them all. You get what you can. And especially considering, too, that before this, really before Cristobal, or Taggart actually, but then Cristobal really broke through that glass ceiling for Oregon. That, oh, we can actually get 4 and 5 stars. Let's go after them. Okay, when we used to watch the recruiting trail, and you'd see 4 and 5 stars, you're like, well, have fun in Alabama. Have fun at Tennessee. Have fun at all the schools that get USC, all the schools that get the 4 and 5s. Let's try to make a 3-star overperform. That was the tactic that Oregon used as a program. Well, guess what? Oregon has now broken through that door. They kicked the door down because they weren't invited to the party, but now they're here. But it still takes a little bit to take the girl from that party home because, again, she's with the 4s and 5 stars. She's not used to a new guy in town. So that's, again, what's happening. So that's just the way it is. By the way, people of the internet, I accept my apologies via Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. I feel like you motherfuckers owe me for having to deal with your dumbassery. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Look, I hope some of you actually used to play in some capacity and prove me wrong. I'll take it. If you play D1, I'll take it. I only played in high school. So, all right. But I doubt it. Because literally, just the most ignorant people on the planet are especially on Reddit. I can't believe it. I deleted the app. I'm like, I'm done with Reddit. Just trying to have a good time. And y'all are dumb and fuck it up for everybody. So, there's that. But, yeah. So, recruiting, we're okay and we'll build. We got a good foundation. We're going for it. Now, as far as the season goes, this is sort of what I was talking about earlier. Our team is young. These are guys that haven't stepped on the field quite yet. They've been carefully developed in practice the last 2 seasons. There have been big plans for them. And they were probably told by Lanning and crew, like, we got big plans for you. Just trust the process. Trust the process. And it's very hard to, believe me from personal experience. When you tell someone to trust the process or trying to get them to it, the very next thing they want to do is not do that. So these guys, though, seem bought in. So now they're finally getting what they're buying in for. And again, as a former player, I'm a huge proponent at this point. I'm glad that the transfer portal was used extremely sparingly and just filled gaps. Because at this point, hey, if someone's not ready to play, they're not ready to play, don't play them. But at this point, play the young guys. I will take a step back year to get the young boys playing time. The young guys playing time. Because you can practice all you want, drills all you want, throw a foot, get your reps in all you want. The best way to develop, the most effective way to develop is on the field, game speed during game time. There's just nothing, there's nothing that comes close to it other than playing the game. So you got these guys trained up on drills and shit. Let's put it to the test, really see who sinks and swims. Let's get them developed on the field. That'll be the best development possible. So I'm all for this. I'm excited for the year in that way because I'm not going to go over like records and stuff. I think Oregon is a 50-50 flip at this point where they could easily go under 9 games or under winning or 10 games or higher winning. Like I said last year, it doesn't look like they're going to win the national championship. Just based on what I see in my experience, it's not a championship squad. Possibly yet. But the only way to know yet is if you get those guys developed on the field. So you have your roster full of 4s and 5 stars. Let's get them up to snuff. And the thing is you're going to see some fun, exciting stuff from them. And it's likely you're going to see some horrible mistakes that could cost you games. That's why you got to give that margin of error a few games you might lose. And there are some possible trap games too because of that. That because of your young roster, you're probably going to have those rookie mistakes that might cost you a game or two. You might get lucky and it won't, but you got to leave that benefit of the doubt or that margin of error in there and not be surprised if it does happen. But these are growing pains. So again, like I said, I'm willing to accept a step back year where it's not going to be like last year where there seemed like a good chance of it. Or even the year before, Bo Nix's last year, that's like, ooh, there's a real good chance of a run. I'm okay with being like, you know what? There's not really going to be a huge run. We might get to the playoff, maybe have a competitive game in the playoff, maybe win a game in the playoff. Who knows? Or we might get a couple big wins and play in a, I don't know what games are on the playoff anymore. Can't go to the Rose Bowl as a consolation. Nothing. I don't know. A good Alamo Bowl game, let's say, or a holiday. I don't know. Just one of those high-level, high-tier bowl games that aren't the playoff games. You might have that type of year, but you got all that experience for your younger guys that next year they'll be like, all right, I get it. Let's roll. Let's kick some ass. So that's going either way, though. No matter how the die is rolled or cast, if you will. No matter how the die lands from the cast, though, that's going to be what this year is. It's going to be learning for the young guys that are playing. And the best way to develop is them on the field. Now, I am going to take a quick bathroom break, and we're going to get back to the next segment where we're going to discuss Damian Lillard coming back to the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't really follow the NBA that much, but I just wanted to hit that real quick. And I'm going to talk about something else that I know the next two sort of segments are non-Duck related, but this is a sports show, so we're going to talk about it all, especially that has to do with Northwest sports. But then I want to say something else because this connects to me personally. So, stand by. This is Countdown to Kickoff, where we show you games, players, or teams in program history on the road to opening kickoff. Next on the list, number 43, the first ever game between Washington and Oregon. UW versus Oregon is one of the oldest and most heated rivalries in college football. The first one kicking off in 1900 at Hayward Field. There were many moments in this rivalry's history that turned up the temperature, including the 1949 Rose Bowl, where Washington cast the last and deciding vote for Cal to attend the bowl game over Oregon. Washington currently leads the rivalry with a 63-48-5 record, with multiple six-game win streaks during Washington's days as a consistent powerhouse. However, Oregon responded and went on a 12-game win streak versus the Huskies from 2004 to 2015. And of course, we can't forget the single play that turned Oregon's football program around, and it was against Washington.
Fewer, you're going to go back to throw the ball. Sets up, looks, throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball! Down to the 35, the 40. Kenny Wheaton's going to score! Kenny Wheaton is going to score! 20, the 10, touchdown! Kenny Wheaton on the interception! The most improbable finish to the football game!
The final score to the game that started it all, 43-0, Oregon. All right, one final thing on the Reddit people, though, too, because I mentioned something about recruiting in the sense of one of our former Oregon players. I'm not going to necessarily go over certain things, but I got downvoted into oblivion because I actually have an inside scoop on a certain recruit that ended up not going to Oregon because the father felt disrespected by the University of Oregon due to not being reached out to at all about recruiting his son. So, and I got downvoted for it. And just so you know, you dumb fucks are wrong. But anyway, again, let's go positive. I'm trying to be positive. This is a positive channel, a positive show. As you can see here and here, I love the Ducks. I've been a Ducks fan since 1990. I'll say 1998, probably 1997, but 1998 when I was really able to follow it when I was 6 years old. And the Ducks inspired me to play flag football. And then once I stopped playing flag football, I then played tackle football. So I love this team, and I want to talk about all the cool things about this team. And in fact, if you'd like to, in the description below, description below, there's a GoFundMe link to a documentary I'm trying to make about the football team. I have 2 interviews done. I have some B-roll. I'm trying to get more interviews done. But the travel and the marketing, editing, distribution, all that kind of stuff costs money. So please help in the process of making this documentary. Help me with that and donate to the GoFundMe today. Thank you. But let's talk about Damian Lillard possibly coming back to the Trailblazers. It seems like not a done deal, but it seems like it's going to happen. And that's because Damian Lillard obviously got drafted by the Blazers, and he became a legend there. And not only because of his play did he become a legend, but I think just as much is not 50-50, but it's a big enough percentage that his legendary status that made him a legend or whatever in Portland was his loyalty to the city, to the people of the city, and to the franchise. And it seemed like he was unceremoniously let go from that and had to mostly uproot himself to go somewhere else. And I'm glad that he went somewhere else that got him a ring. But let me fact check that. I'm pretty sure he got a ring when the Milwaukee Bucks won it. But let's double check that. Does Damian Lillard have a ring? Look at that first suggestion. No, he doesn't have an NBA champ. I thought he won with the Bucks. He didn't win with the Bucks? No way. Hold on. I could have swore he won with the Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks championship. Who was the team? 2021. Wasn't he at the Bucks during that time? Oh, Drew Holiday was still there. No, look at that. They ever feature notable players. What? I could have swore he won a championship with them. That's crazy. All right, well, he went to the Bucks probably because they had, I think, hold on. When did Lillard... Did Lillard join the Bucks? Literally like what, the year after? Damn. Okay. Well, he went to a team where he had a good chance of winning a ring. And I was maybe I'll say this. When he originally left Portland, I was sad. Because, again, he's a staple in Portland now. At this point, they should build a statue of him outside of the Rose Garden or the Moda Center, if you're a weirdo that likes to call it that, even though it's the Rose Garden. At this point, he should be on that sort of tier of Blazer with the guys like Bill Walton, who is a great guy, Clyde Drexler, and Brandon Roy is another one. And then there's Damian Lillard at this point that are like household names in Portland. There's obviously the Jailblazer era just because of their on-the-court success. But as far as guys that are community guys, I would probably say those guys sort of in particular. Especially, but the top of that list, if we're talking about that metric, it is Damian Lillard. With Brandon Roy at second. And I didn't fault him, though, for leaving because, frankly, I thought that he left he left too late. He should have left Portland earlier. If we're talking about a guy that has had a long, distinguished career even at Portland, where one of the few things that he really needed was a ring, especially in a ring-chasing era. He chose not to chase a ring, and then once he was let go, basically, by Portland, might as well go to a team that has a chance at winning it all. And with the Bucks having just won one and having a great roster still, there you might as well. But I am just as excited that he's coming back, despite him sort of, I don't like saying past your prime, because I know athletes don't really think that way. There might be certain limitations that they might admit to, just say like, I have limitations. But I don't think they ever really say, I'm past my prime. But he's obviously recovering from an injury. And so a lot of dummies on the internet, obviously, that goes without saying, are like, he's getting overpaid to come back. It's totally pointless, blah, 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 blah. But he always wanted to retire a Blazer. And now he gets that chance to. So that's worth more. That's priceless. If I, as stupid and dumb as the management and the front office as Portland has been for a long time, that's the reason why right now there's such a poverty franchise. And part of the reason why I haven't bothered to follow them for a while. The last time I really did follow them was when Dame was playing with them. They've just, it's like they're the Cleveland Browns, man. They just do everything in their power to shoot themselves in the foot. It's like, they're like the dumb frat guy that's like, I'm not going to jump off the roof and kill myself. No, I told him totally going to. Like, they just, what? What are your decisions? Like, I'm all for like risky behavior and having fun and breaking a toe every once in a while, whatever, just being a little reckless. But like, there's got to be some logic behind it. There's never logic behind any of the choices of the front office of Portland. I mean, the fact that when they ran Damian out in the first place, it was like, bro, what are you guys thinking? So that's the only good decision I could say they've made in a long time, was being like, I don't care, I'll pay as much money to get you back here. One, just for the fanfare of it. To see Damian Lillard back in a Blazer jersey is awesome. Obviously, some of his best career moments are in Portland. Again, he's such a hometown legend at this point. I know he's not a born and raised guy here, but he's a son of Portland now in that way, just because he's made such an impact on the community, as well as been so much a part of a community. I mean, his roots are still here. I mean, that's part of the reason why he wanted to come back. It wasn't just the Trailblazer front office that wanted to bring Damian back. He's seemingly been trying to get back for a long time because his family's there, like his kids and stuff are there and everything. I don't know how he's been able to pull this Milwaukee thing off, if that's the case. But I would pay any amount of money just to make sure that guy does, in fact, retire a Blazer. And some dumb team doesn't come and, oh, we actually want him. So I know people see the price tag and the fact that he's got an Achilles injury, which is sort of a weird thing that's been happening in the NBA a lot recently. Like the Tommy John surgeries that are happening a lot now, or Tommy John injuries in the MLB lately. But people look at that and be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Well, when you put it in that context, it makes sense. And it doesn't even matter even if he doesn't have the same production as he used to the first time around in Portland. The idea is just getting him back in Portland, being an ambassador for the team, the city, the brand, and retiring and putting that 0 jersey of his up in the rafters at the Rose Garden. It really does mean a lot that your last game or your retirement is sort of where you started and made memories. And so for that, I am happy for it. Welcome back, Dame. My only hope, though, is that the Blazers front office actually fucking invest in the team and build a team. You don't need a super team necessarily, but at least try. Jeez, like, here's what I don't understand. It's like, oh, we're a small market or mid-market pro franchise, so we're not going to really invest in it. It's like, well, how do you get... Because it's not going to make a whole lot of money or whatever because it's such a small mid-market, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, how do you get more fucking people to show up that makes more money? And if you have a good team, more people show up. And now I know you have salty people in Seattle that might not be Blazer fans because the Sonics left. And before that, when the Sonics were there, there was a sort of rivalry between Portland and Seattle. But shit, if I even wasn't a Blazer fan and I lived in Seattle, the nearest pro NBA team or the nearest NBA team is the Blazers. I'd drive down to watch a game, at least if they were worth watching. But they're not. So please, build a roster. Bring Damian back. Let him have his Legends run, but build a roster. Make a competitive team. I'm tired of teams in my region being the underdog that overperforms and they always fall short in the end. I'm tired of it. And that's why Oregon as a program have to try to turn themselves around, and why Phil Knight is finally invested in them in the late 90s, by the way. They haven't always been a Nike school. If you want to blame Phil Knight, you better blame Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan made Phil Knight with the shoes in the 90s. So it's not like the Ducks always had money. But I'm not the only Northwestern fan from the Northwest region that's tired of the little engine that could team. Build the team. It's not that. I mean, especially in the pro teams, just give them enough money. They'll live in the Northwest. It's not like in college, you know, a college player where you're like having to compete with, well, do you want to live in Eugene or Los Angeles? Like, you could just say like, yo, I'm going to give you this much money. And they'll be like, I think I can handle a few months of rain every once in a while for that price. It's the pros. So just invest in the team. If the Blazers were worth watching, I'd come from San Diego to watch them. So that's all I have to say, though. Welcome back, Damien. That was my long-winded way of saying that. Now, let's move on to the next thing, though, is the Teddy Bridgewater thing. Apparently, he was suspended for multiple things, I guess, like Uber rides and food and all that kind of stuff for players. You know, things that coaches would do for their players. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater did anything wrong. I think it's complete and utter BS, actually, that he's getting suspended and punished for this. And this is a mistake for the future, because you're going to have guys that will not invest in their community or their players because they're going to be afraid to get in trouble. And it's a ridiculous rule. They should get rid of it, and they should reinstate Teddy Bridgewater. And let him coach and retroactively pay him back for whatever punishment he took at this point. He's a volunteer, for one. So here's what he's doing. He's volunteering his time and money to help these kids out. And two, he's doing what every coach does. It's nothing different. I mean, for God's sakes, do you want community builders or not? I see stupid Memphis corporate animated commercials every day about community and community. We need to invest and build community. They love the phrase community because it gets like white women like all flustered and like happy. Feel like they're doing something when they say community. But then you punish the people that are actually building communities and doing something about it, not talking about it. I mean, holy shit, man. I like communities too. I don't like at this point all the fucking partisans have ruined the term community for me. But yeah, you should commute. I totally agree. We need to have people and community. But you're not going to when you have bullshit rules that punishes the builders of those. You need people, just like a house. The house is the beginning of a community. You build a house, and you have a family in that house. And then that family goes out and meets other families that build their house. And it spreads, so on and so forth. And then you have a community. And Teddy Bridgewater is trying to build the house. And you are like the dumb inspector that's coming in and writing things on your little clipboard that doesn't really actually mess with the integrity or the functional structure of the house. And then fining him or imprisoning him for not doing based on your things on your little clipboard. Let the man build. And I feel strongly about this for one reason and one reason only, okay? Growing up, I didn't really come from a whole lot of money. It wasn't until later in my I don't know, upbringing that my family sort of started coming into money and sort of broke the middle class thing. I would say I would classify my family as sort of working middle class, which means that we didn't starve or we weren't. It's not like we were trailer trash broke type of thing. Okay, like I'm not going to oversell or whatever how broke we were, but there were definitely times where we had a Thanksgiving dinner donated to us by family or friends of the family to make sure we actually had a Thanksgiving dinner that year. And grandparents that donated money to my parents so then they could buy us Christmas presents. And those Christmas presents had to be very, very frugal in nature. Sorry, my dog's barking. Excuse me. Be quiet. So there were times of financial struggle and strife for sure, in a big way. And obviously during that time, I was still playing sports. During that time, I was playing football and basketball for sure. And my coach, who was also my football coach for a couple years, but throughout all those years, he was my basketball coach. He sort of had to not take me under my wing, but sort of take care of certain things because my dad was working many hours wherever he can get work, and so was my mom. To make any sort of money to rebuild financially and all that other kind of stuff. So there were times where my parents were too broke or busy to do things like take me to travel tournaments. Well, guess who would? The dad of one of my teammates, my coach. There were many times where he gave me rides to those tournaments that were around 100 miles away type of tournaments. Pay for my lodging, pay for my food. My parents were busy working. When we weren't traveling, we were just at home. If we had just our everyday normal practice, he'd give me rides to practice, back from practice, buy me and my friend, his son, my teammate, food as well during that time. He'd pay for my shoes, my basketball shoes, because we had team basketball shoes, pay for my uniform. Like, he filled in those gaps that my parents couldn't quite take care of at certain times. There were times I even stayed the night at his house with his son because, my parents are going to be gone a while, whatever, like those types of things. And then in high school, my parents were starting to recover, so it wasn't because of my parents at that time. But just for team building, my high school basketball coach, he would have dinner. His wife would cook dinner for the whole basketball team after every game at his house. So when we were done with the game, we'd walk down to his house and we'd have food. We'd have like a stew or a soup or, whatever it is. And it was for team building and just hanging out and having a good time after a game. That is basically the same thing Teddy Bridgewater has appeared to do. And it is not a big deal whatsoever. In fact, those are good things, positive things. And not crazy, irrational things. Because I assure you that there's at least one kid on any of those teams that needs that type of help that I might have needed, and even probably needed more help than I did. And if a guy was in the NFL and made money in the NFL and therefore is a wealthy person that can afford to do things like that, then let him do it. He wants to. He's volunteering. It's coming out of his own pocket. That's just insane. That's about all I have to say about it, though. I just wanted to share sort of that connection that I have to it and the reasons why I think this whole thing with Teddy Bridgewater is ridiculous, and I hope they change it. And I hope he gets compensated with either reinstatement and an apology for it. With that being said, I think that's it for me. I'm probably not going to do shows normally on Fridays. I don't know if I believe the myth about people not being at home on Fridays and watching, so it's not an analytics thing. Football season's coming up, and that means it's coming up for me too. My Fridays will be very busy covering high school football down here in San Diego, so it's just not logistically able to happen. But I like the idea, though, of a late week show and then like a Monday, maybe like a Sunday or Monday show where it's right after football game. Maybe a Monday, though, because everyone's going to be watching NFL because they're still watching that. I don't like the NFL's too many commercials. The college is getting very close to that, to be honest. But so maybe a Monday show or like a Sunday night show, if anything. But I like the idea of a late week one, early week one, so you can talk about the game coming up, and then you could talk about the game as it just happened. So I'm thinking maybe like a Thursday and a Monday live stream. But luckily we have a lot of time to do that. Just know that Fridays probably aren't going to be the day. You know what? Screw it. Let's do Thursday and Mondays. You heard it here, live and in living color, as they say. You saw a production meeting in real time. Thursdays and Mondays during football season, because there's more to talk about during football season. I don't know if Thursdays and Mondays would necessarily be a thing during the off season, because it's like, oh, come on, unless something really crazy happens. Yeah. So Thursdays and Mondays coming up during football season. We're gonna do that. Watch this show. Look out for it. If you missed the live streams, I will repost the videos from the live streams and or clips on the YouTube page at STP Studios. Also, I have Rumble. I will post those live on Rumble, and not Twitch yet, but I'm looking to obviously get the apparatus set up to multi-stream so I can stream on Twitch, Rumble, YouTube, and anywhere else, maybe TikTok. Frankly, just anywhere that will offer streaming services in any way. If you don't like the YouTube platform, which I can understand. So just look for me there. STP Studios on Facebook, STP_Studios on Instagram. I can't remember. I think it's Studios STP on Twitter. Just search it. You can find it. Follow me on all the social medias. I would try to keep you updated as things go, but please subscribe to the channel, though, so you can get updated on everything in terms of you can see when new videos come out and you can see when I'm live and all that good stuff. And then don't forget to comment as well and like. Be sure to like and then comment all of the things that would make you dislike. How's that? JK, I'm trying to keep it a positive space for Duck fans and college football fans in general too. I'd like to cover college football as a whole, but that's a lot of work. So I'll build up to it. I'll say that. I won't say I won't do it. I'll say I build up to it. But for now, we're just talking Ducks, Northwest sports, so on and so forth. Unless something like Teddy Bridgewater comes up. But anyways, yeah. So do all that, and be on the lookout for new stuff. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.